These are 10 incredibly addictive must-read fantasy books to binge if you're in a reading slump like me and me, or if you just want easy 5-star reads. Let's start with a masterpiece, and that is Stardust by Neil Gaiman. This is probably the easiest book that you will read in your life. Very short, action-packed. It is written in a way that it's beautiful. It's just full of action, of unforgettable characters, and it has such whimsy. It's an adult fantasy book that really reads middle grade. It is so moving, full of magic. It's a portal fantasy, and it really made me feel alive. It's one of the first books that I read from Gaiman. It just throw me through his world. He always has such an incredible way of making you feel and live. And with this book, what you will feel, it's the magic of love, the magic of growing up, of pirates, of having witches, a tournament. Every page, it's full of something new. You won't be able to stop. A story that I knew from the third page that this was going to be one of my favorite books of all time, and I really recommend you to read it. It's no other than Guns of the Dawn by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Adrian who? Yes, Adrian Tchaikovsky, a hidden gem author. It's more famous for his sci-fi stories such as Children of Time, but this story, it's a standalone, which it's always points because you started, you ended, and it's very easy to get out of a reading slump. It's very easy to get fulfilled, to have just like an easy 5 stars, like the world was very easy for you. And in this case, we have a low on magic story that just, it's the perfect blend of Pride and Prejudice plus war.
And if that does not sound good enough for you,
let me tell you that this main character, Emily Mashwick, is probably one of the most compelling main characters that I've read in my life. She is a noble and she decides to go to war. And this story will get us through the very complex idea of war, of what it entails and why are we having these wars. Great enemies to lovers, the tension was phenomenal, and it starts kind of like in the present point, and then you go back and see a little bit of that Victorian era. So it's very interesting, and you won't be able to put it down because you want to know what happens with our characters. The narration is also very, very good, easy to read, very compelling. The plot is very well done, it is very well written, and the characters are unforgettable. Speaking about unforgettable characters, we have Malice, the first book in The Faithful and the Fallen. Now, this book really took me a little bit to get into it. It's not something that from the first pages you know that is going to be the perfect book for you. So maybe it's not the one to start if you're really, really deep into that reading slump, but it just has so many great actions. It also resembles these really classic fantasy tropes of the good versus the evil. We have the witches, we have the warriors. It really is classic fantasy made modern. Every chapter, it's fairly short, and you will change perspective after perspectives, which will make this book move so incredibly fast. The pacing, it's not fast in itself, but you just want to keep moving and keep discovering, and the book will always get you on the hook. There's that feeling of I want to read just a little bit more, and in this case we basically will have this story of this prophecy of this bad one that it's emerging, and we need to stop it. Definitely a story that got me out till 3 a.m. at night reading because I just couldn't stop myself. And now we have one of my favorite stories of all time, and one that really made me resent life because I was so addicted to this story, and that was Promise of Blood, which is the first book in the Powder Mages trilogy. A complex, rich story that blends very well magic plus adventure plus politics with humor, with a prophecy, and it's so entertaining. The stakes are high from the beginning because we start with one of these main characters killing the king and starting a coup. The events that unfold is not only that all the politics around want a piece of this now very
entertaining pie,
but also a prophecy. Something bad might happen, and it's whoopsie, a war might be unfolded, and we will be following these different perspectives. At its core, it's a story that allows us to understand a very interesting magic system, because we will have 3 different kinds here. It's a hard magic system. The narration is also very good, and it's fantasy at its finest here. You will be hooked from the beginning because of the stakes and also because how charismatic the characters are. Must read. And we now go for a story that blends genres, and it starts being really fantasy, moves towards sci-fi, and it just has the best high stakes and heist that I've seen in my life, and that is the Founders Trilogy by Robert Jackson Bennett. The first book, Foundryside, is so interesting. From the beginning, I was like, yes, please give me more. I cannot stop reading. You will follow this very interesting, very charismatic, because she's a misfit character called Sansha, and she has the unique ability of being able to sense objects, and those objects, can tell her things. So she is the perfect thief, and one day she will be tasked of stealing one thing, and once she does that, everyone will be like, we need to kill this girl. She discovers that there's something inside this thing that she has just stolen that has the potential to change and remake the world. And we have also these different houses that have this magic that they've discovered, that they can inscribe things, and these things can be commanded. There's also this family found vibe and this improbable, very difficult heist that it's full of scenes that will get you very hooked, but also feeling very fulfilled, very in love with the proper characters. It was one of my favorite reads 2 years past, and definitely one of my favorite series of all time. And let's just change to something that it's easy. The perfect pickup if you want something that will just get you fulfilled, that will get you happy, that it's a cozy read, and that it's very short. Really, a 5-star. A Psalm for the Wild Build by Becky Chambers. This solar punk subgenre, a futuristic setting where instead of having this dystopian world where things have gone bad, in here things have gone pretty bad at some point, but people have just gone back to the basics, and they are just trying to live very in sync with nature. They are trying to do the simple things, and we will follow one of these characters, and they are a tea monk. The main mission is to go town after town and trying to be there to provide a little bit of solace for the different people. Robots one day gained awareness, and they were like,
we don't want you humans to be taking care of us anymore. We don't want to work for you.
And humans were like,
we respect you, we know, and yeah, you go and do whatever.
Those robots has never been seen again. And one day this tea monk will encounter a robot, and the story will unfold from there. It made me teared up a little bit, and it's definitely a story that you need to read if you're in a space in which you want some hope in your life. If you want a hug-made book, it is so short. Now, if you want something that is also short that will get you fulfilled, but it's not that hopeful, but it has that really engaging theme, we have Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. This is very short, and it is also very weird and also very compelling. It is a perfect blend of a dark fairy tale vibe. There's a certain whimsy / folklore element to it, but it's done in a dark way. So it's a cozy, dark book. The pacing, it's perfection, but at the same time it just has this good humor and this, improbable main characters that are just misfits, and you root for them and they are hilarious. We'll follow our main girl Mara, and she has just learned that her sister has been married to this man in the neighbor kingdom, and that man is treating her badly, and she's like,
I will not allow this,
and she will try and stop this while preventing a war. And along the way, because this is kind of like a quest, she will meet different characters. One of them is a witch, a fairy godmother. It is very, very good. A story that it's dark, but you won't be able to stop reading. It's Blood Over Bright Haven by M.L. Wang. She's the same author as The Sword of Kagan, and in here we don't have a story that it's in nature, sad and action-packed and familiar, drama-packed, but instead a dark academia, a mystery at its core, and a very savage plot with a very smart protagonist. The thing that made me read and consume this book from start to finish without wanting to stop, it's that the premise is phenomenal, because we know that there's this city that is protected by magic. There's this dome made of magic, because on the outside of the city there's the blight, this almost thunder that if it just touch you, you will be just smithereen. So there are these mages that are trying to expand this barrier, and we will have this main protagonist, this woman, that it's about to become the first woman mage in this school. Deeply moving, because the character, it's not really like a good girl. She is ambitious, she wants power, and it's a story that will bring you anger, and that will make you feel alive in a way that it's kind of like you will want more from life. And it's just that anger, that power. It's very Erif Kwang for me, this book. Once that you start, that you get to know the stakes, you won't be able to stop. And I promise you, this is still a hidden gem, but it's one that really, really, really deserves your attention. Another somewhat hidden gem, although has been nominated by the Goodreads Choice Awards of this year, so I believe a little bit more people are going to be knowing this book, and I cannot be happier for that. We have The Wheel of the Many by James Islington. This is my favorite book of this year, and I really resented having life. I wanted this book forever. This is going to be part of a series, and I cannot be happier. This is a story that again has such high stakes. It's military academic setting, the world building, it's very compelling. Peach is being really similar in essence to Red Rising, because we have this very structured society, and the magic system actually depends on the level of the society that you have. And we have one of these characters that it's about to start in this school, is going to try to learn, infiltrate, and they want to discover what is happening in this society. Not one, but two scenes are unforgettable, and that will make you just wow. You won't be able to stop. And the last book in this list, it's the one and only Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brando Sando. So
The master, the king, the legend.
it's so incredibly easy to read. It is funny, it is adventurous, and it's a story that is very addictive. You will follow the quest of this character that it's a twist from The Princess Bride. She will discover that her love has been kidnapped, and as a result she will decide to take things on her side and just go and save him. Along the way she will need to do a lot of different things. One of those is becoming a pirate, and the great thing about this world, it's also the heart magic system and the world building, because although she lives in this very small rock, the water is not water, and if actually water touches this sea-like thing that we have surrounding it, then amazing and terrible creatures come from it. And we have these different oceans, these different seas, and all of them are really complex. So being a pirate is not an easy feast. It's narrated by Hoyt, which makes this a weirdly hilarious but also whimsical story. So the tone, it's also very accessible, and I couldn't stop reading it. It was so fast-paced. Now tell me down below, what are those books that got you really, really, really addictive, that kept you up all night, and that are easy 5 stars for you, because I definitely need them. And thank you so much to my Patreons who joined the Ink Guardian Society. We have a monthly book club, we have weekly reading challenges, so join us and help us save the book spirits by reading.